Right, go for it.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 26 of the Personal Trainer Portal podcast. Peter Rothwell, how are you doing the day before your birthday? How old are you going to be tomorrow?
24 tomorrow.
24. You know what? I'm calling bullshit.
What? What do you mean? What
Because
age
I
do you think I
know
look
you're
like?
not younger than me.
Why? What
And I
age are
know
you
for a
now?
fact you turned 30 a few years ago.
Yeah, but when you get a 30, it goes backwards.
Are you like Benjamin
So it
Button, eh?
works. Exactly. Exactly. So by the time we hit like podcast 100, I'll be 4 years old.
Right, okay. Actually, I can work it out because you've sent me your date of birth before, and I'm sure you're born in 86.
You're actually wrong. I'm not just saying that for the case of
Is it
you trying
not?
to say I'm
What is
old.
it?
No,
Is it 88?
no.
87?
Yeah, it's 87.
So
87.
you're going to be, if my maths are correct, 34?
I tell you what, it's not just a pretty face. Not just a pretty
So you're
face, this
going to be
guy.
30. You're going to be 34. You're 34 now.
No, I'm going to be 34
Right, okay, yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's birthday eve.
yeah, so if you listen to this, it's Pete's birthday tomorrow. Well, he'll already be 34 by the time you listen to this in podcast land. So I want
Yeah, I
you
didn't think
to
about that actually.
go over to Personal Trainer Portal Instagram, linked in the description, no plug. And I want you to message us with a happy birthday to Pete. So now, Pete, you're going to get thousands of people messaging you. That's because that's how known we
That's
are
how
right now.
popular it is.
Yeah.
Instagram
Now we're
processor.
now this is the 26th episode.
Well, that's it. We're in that top percentage, and we're not going to reveal the stat again, but we're just in a high percentage on podcast land.
Exactly that. So, do you have any jokes for us, for the people, or me?
Funny you should ask. So I've got a few jokes, but obviously I'm trying to think. I mean, I've got a joke
Buckle
that
in.
Zach told me, or I've got a classic joke. I'll go with the classic joke. So, um, what is the fastest? You might know this, Lewis. What is the fastest cake or baked item around?
What is the fastest cake or baked item around? I don't know.
Gone.
I have heard that one before. I have heard that one before, and I'm annoyed that I didn't remember it.
Well,
I
it's so popular, that one, that Tommy, who is only 2, my son, he actually laughs at that, and it's just because he's into cars, I think, and he likes
Yeah.
the noise of like a fast car. But yeah, it
Well, I
appeals to
got
the ages, that one.
I had a joke from Tess the other day. Tickle. Can you remember him? Her. Sorry.
No, who,
Can you not remember
who do you
Tess?
mean?
Tess.
No,
Testicle.
no. Who do you mean? Is this code for someone?
Testicle. You know who Testicle is?
No,
You don't know who Testicle is.
no,
You're having me on.
I'm not. I
You
don't know
don't know
what you're
who
on
Mrs.
about.
Tickle is. Tess.
Mrs. Tickle.
Tess.
All right, Tess. Yeah.
Say it out loud. Say her full name out loud.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
I couldn't tell whether you were double bluffing or you genuinely didn't understand. Anyway, on those two joke
That was really bad,
bombshells,
by the way. Both were bad.
we're going to be talking about reasons you're not getting clients, or specifically 3 reasons you're not getting clients. I'm going to go first. Number 1, the first reason you're not getting clients, PT clients, is you're not speaking to enough people. Me and Pete talk about this all the time, is if you're not speaking to enough people, you're not generating enough leads. And if you're not generating enough leads, you're not leading enough consultations. And if you're not leading enough consultations, you're not turning people into paying clients, aka people you can train medium to long term, earning you a good, prosperous business. So if you're not speaking to enough people, then there's probably there might be a few reasons you're not speaking to enough people. It might be you feel like you don't need to, or you don't want to, or you're scared about, well, not scared, people aren't scary, but you're slightly anxious about what you should be saying to the people. Do you agree, Peter?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think it's one of them when you become a PT, it can be hard to sort of approach people because you're new to the gym. You've got all these people, maybe, headphones on, doing their own thing. And it's just not knowing where to start with them, maybe overcomplicating it in your head and getting a bit anxious about it. And then you end up not really talking to anyone, or maybe you talk to someone, and we've touched on this before, it's a big no-no. You go in for the sell, and, it's the first time you've talked or said hello to this person, you're trying to sell them something, you know, which PT isn't cheap. And if you're trying to flog something expensive straight away, they don't know you they don't know you from Adam or Eve, do they?
No. And I think it's one of those where if you don't speak to many people, getting back to that main point, say if you spoke to, I don't know, 5 new people a week compared to 50, if you're only speaking to 5 people, you're putting more pressure on yourself to sell to those small amount of people. So that means if you try and sell to 3 of those 5 people, that's over half the amount of people you're trying to just straight away sell to without providing enough value to get them down towards being a client. So I actually I listened to an audiobook when I was on holiday called Go for No. Have you heard of that, Pete, or not?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
So I think it came out in like the early 2000s, and it's actually catered and tailored more towards like salesmen, selling like insurance and like cars and stuff like that. But it's actually a really good listen because the main premise of the book is that the more people you speak to, the more no's that you get off people, the more likely you are to get a yes, if that makes sense. So, say for example, if you set the goal of speaking to, I don't know, 50 people on the gym floor compared to if you spoke to 10 people, if you spoke to 50 people, 45 of them might say no, but 5 of them might say yes. Whereas if you speak to 10 people, 9 of them might say no, but only 1 might say yes. So, long story short, the more people you try and get a no from, aka people who aren't interested in your personal training, the more likely you are. You're increasing the odds of people actually signing up to personal training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going back to that thing of the conveyor belt. And every time you say hello, how are you to someone, you're literally putting them on your conveyor belt right at the beginning. But if you set yourself on Monday, I'm going to talk to at least, a handful of people, and you do that every day, it's really not that hard to talk to 5 people a day, is it? I mean, whether that's hello, how are you, whether that's demonstrating an exercise to someone else, or going over doing a bit of cleaning and just seeing someone struggling, say, oh, can I help you? That's 5 people that can be easily done. And like you say from that book, by the end of the week, you've got a load of people that you've talked to, potential leads, and people are going to be on different points on that conveyor belt, and you want to move them towards the end, which is when you would go for the sell, essentially,
Yeah,
with the consultation.
exactly. And I think the main takeaway for me was that I think a lot of the time we don't speak to that many people because we're scared of rejection. We're scared of someone saying, "Oh no, I don't want to be your client," or "Oh no, it's too expensive," or "Oh no, I need to speak to my partner." Whatever the excuse may be from a prospect, we almost fear that. Whereas if we just got over that and just went for purely speaking to as many people as possible. Whether they say no, it doesn't matter, because the more people say no, the more people are going to say yes as well. Because you speak, it's more about volume. The more people you speak to, the more chances you are of getting a client. That makes sense.
And yeah, and it's that analogy of the you can't see the wood for the trees, and I think people, overcomplicate, you know, getting clients, and they forget that you've got this captive audience on the gym floor. There's no cost involved. You're literally in there. It's a bit of your time. That's the only cost, talking to people. You don't have to do any complicated systems where you're going on Facebook and putting £100 a day, to try and get clients. There's none of that. It's just literally talking to people and building that know, like, and trust that we've touched on a load of times.
Exactly. And I think that's why we rein in on this so much about talking. If you're on the gym floor, you're a gym floor based personal trainer, you've got everything there to build up your client base and build up clients you actually enjoy. So we've spoke about that one quite a lot. The first reason you're not getting clients is, long story short, you're not speaking to enough people. So do you want to go for the second one, Pete? The second reason people aren't getting clients?
Yeah, so another reason why you're not getting clients or people are struggling for that is you don't have the correct systems or strategies in place. So what do I mean by this? So strategies, systems, that's anything from, a simple sales script or script where you would chat to someone. It's, having a method of follow up. So once you've talked to someone and maybe you've given them some value, we've touched on that before, that could be a template for a workout nutrition plan or just showing some workouts, and then having that follow up, checking in with them, just adding to that relationship you're building. Um, so there, if you don't have these things in place, these conversations can be just go nowhere. Essentially,
Aimless.
you aimless. Exactly. You want to remember that you're having these conversations to add value and sell to people eventually. But if you're just having these conversations and not structuring them or having a follow-up process, then really, it's a
You might
waste
as
of
well just
time.
go to the local pub.
Well, exactly, and try and sell your PT to someone, because we all know when you go on a night. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but when you go on a night out and you get chatting to people, oh, what do you do? Personal trainer.
Yeah, we've all
Oh,
been there.
and just don't do it. Say anything other than personal trainer, because people, when they're drunk, they'll tell you they want a PT. They'll give you their number. Give me a ring in the morning. We'll sort out consultation. Oh, I'm struggling with this. I've got these bingo wings, or and before you know it, you spent your whole night telling them bloody tricep exercises
Yeah.
to do in the gym.
And really, they're going to forget about it in the morning.
Exactly. And it's got, but people, it's like, PT. Oh, this is great. This is some free advice that I'm not going to remember and I'm just going to rinse you for. So,
Yeah.
yeah, not to go off on a tangent, but just tell them anything, road sweeper, anything. Just don't
Yeah.
tell people on a night out you're a PT.
We've all been there. But yeah, just to reiterate that second point is, if you don't have the correct systems and strategy in place, you might be speaking to people on the gym floor, but you need to know what to say and what to do to move them on that conveyor belt to the next step. So, say for example, again, we've spoken about this in previous podcasts, but the first step might just be that initial hello, introducing yourself as a personal trainer. Then you need to follow up, and then you need to say, look, right, what you're struggling with, find out their goals, etc. Then you can show them something, give them a PDF, a nutrition guide, whatever it may be, like Pete said, and then follow up and ask to put them in for a consultation. And then once you have the structure for the consultation, then you can try and sell to them and get them onto your personal training package. That's the conveyor belt of moving them on to the next step. If you don't have that in place, you don't have a structure to what you're doing. And I'm sure you tell your clients they need to have a structure with their training program. So why shouldn't you have a structure with how to get clients? It's the same thing. So that covers up the second point. Anything else you want to say about that one?
No, I think we've covered that quite in depth, really.
Yeah, so I think that's two of them. Number one, you don't know you're not speaking to enough people. Number two, you don't have the correct systems in place. Number three is you don't know how to sell. Like, let's be honest. When we're at PT school, as we like to say, when we're doing our level 3 personal trainer qualification, we're not taught how to sell to 55-year-old Jerry, who's the businessman. He knows how to sell, but you don't know how to sell. So he can almost see through the lines. He knows what you're trying to do. So when you go straight in for the kill and say, this is how much I charge for personal training, but you haven't provided any value, why should he sign up for personal training with you? All he's heard is that price per hour. So if you don't know how to sell, long story short, learn how to sell.
Yeah, so it's one of them, and I think people, PTs, when, like we say, you don't get taught at PT school how to sell, and, we're not, essentially people struggle to sell. I think it's one of them, that a certain type of person is good at selling naturally, isn't it? They'd
Yeah,
probably
some people do
gravitate.
have it or they don't.
Yeah, and they gravitate towards that sales job because usually in sales jobs there's a lot of pressure on them to sell, and that it's commission based, and that's how they get it. So PTs, we've sort of set out, don't we? And we want to help people, enjoy the gym environment, and we don't probably have a sales background. So therefore, if we've not been taught that out at PT school, we're going to struggle with it, aren't we? I remember, I don't know if you can lose some of your first consultations, and if we could have videoed them, we'd probably be having a right laugh now, thinking,
Yeah,
why the hell would I buy off this guy?
yeah,
So it's one of them. And I think the more you do the consultations, the easier it gets, doesn't it? Because
exactly.
it's about sort of making the person feel at ease and not going too early with the sell. It's getting across the value to them, because essentially it's a transaction that you're trying to complete. And with that transaction, there's, the numbers are quite big, aren't they, for PT one-to-one? It can be expensive. So you really need to sort of cover any objections and get across the value, and how that value actually helps them. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost going back to that saying, isn't it? It's like if you do anything for 1,000 hours, you're going to get good at it, no matter what it is. Just like consultations, if you're first doing them and trying to sell your PT service, like we were in 2015 when we first started, like I didn't have a clue how to do it or how to lead it because I've never done it before. But you build up those hours, you build up the confidence, you learn how to get across your value and get across to that client or potential client that you are the person, man or woman, for their needs, and you are the person to solve what they need solving. So it almost goes back to having a structure as well, because you need to have a structure in your consultation on what to say and how you're going to provide them value. I think the best almost bit of advice I've heard is put yourself in their shoes. If you've got them in a consultation, you should already know what their problems are from everything you've spoke about on your previous meetups with them. So you should be going at that consultation already knowing what they're struggling with, what the goals are, this, that, and the other. So put yourself in their shoes. And if you were them, what would you like to hear? What would you want from a personal trainer? And the sooner you realize that, you can tailor the consultation so that you can tailor it to their needs and map out a plan and expectations to get them from A to B to C to D, and almost like let them envision it in their mind. Because the more they can see it happening, the more they are likely to actually sign up.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point about the system and structure of the consultation, because if you haven't, you're going into the consultation, you've just got a blank bit of paper and a pen. Although that's good, you probably take some notes. If you can have a proper consultation form made out, you've got the key questions that you need to ask. You can then, you almost, the client is giving you the ammunition to sell to them. So you'll find out what their struggles are. what their objections are from those questions, big open questions, important questions, not yes and no questions. Then they'll basically provide you. So, one of the struggles is that they don't have, accountability and motivation. If that's something that comes from the consultation from one of your questions, you then know that's something you can knuckle down on and sell that to them. You can push yourself across and say, well, that's why I'm here. I'm going to give you the support. I'm going to give you the accountability. In some of the areas you've touched on that you struggle with accountability, you've now got ammunition to sort of sell that to them because they've given you what you need to know. So if you can get as much information out of them, you've then got the ammunition to sell to them. Do you agree?
Exactly that. So we've covered 3 main points there. Number 1, not speaking to enough people. Number 2, you don't have the correct systems and strategy in place. And number 3, you don't know how to sell. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're sat there thinking, I'm not speaking to enough people, I don't have systems and strategies in place, and I don't know how to sell, well, you can go to the description in our podcast bio and you can book a free strategy call with me or Pete where we can identify your problem areas and see where you're going wrong, so we can see exactly which part you need to rein on to actually get clients. And you can also follow us on Instagram, personal trainer portal _ Have I got that right, Pete? It is personal trainer portal _
Yeah, you've got it right this time.
Yeah, I think you're better on the Instagram.
Personal training portal _ yeah.
Yeah, personal trainer portal _ that's the one. Well, it's in the bio anyway. So if anything in this podcast has resonated with you and your business, then go to the description, hit the link in the bio, and we will help you out with it, because trust me, we've been exactly where you are as well. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in episode 27.